And we are live, I think.
Cool. This is it.
Let me double check that. We are indeed live. Hello, everybody. My name is Dimitar, and I'm joined by my coworker, Sammy. Sammy, do you want to say something about yourself?
Sure. Hey, I'm Sammy. I'm based out of London, full developer, and very excited for everyone to be joining us. All my massive amounts of fans. Um, so yeah, looking forward to what we're going to get stuck into today. And it's going to be really interesting because I'm not aware what we're doing. So you're going to see me without I think any preparation and just trying to work out what is going on. But I am very privileged to have Demeter with me to help me out along the way.
That sounds awesome. So, the plan for today is to be pairing. At Thoughtbot, often when we're pairing, we try to we try to do a few things in advance. Maybe agree on a scope, agree how long we're going to go, what type of pairing we're doing, and so on. So, Sammy, what do you think? I was thinking we could go for about 2 hours and take a break in the middle.
Yeah,
I'm going to have
yeah,
you. I'm going to need you to help me with timekeeping, just in case I miss the halfway mark.
yeah, yeah, can do that.
Um, and I guess I'll be sharing, and you're on Tuple, so you can interact with my screen. I'd prefer for the live stream if you use the pen tool, but not the double cursor.
Yeah,
I can let you know. I think at some point we can switch keyboards, or you can share, but it just makes it easier for me. And yeah, that's it. So what are we even pairing on today? There's this project called Suspenders. Have you used it before?
um, I've used it in the sense that it's in projects that we currently work on at Thoughtbot, but I've never used it in the sense of actually adding it to the project. It's just kind of been there
Yeah.
silently in the background.
All right. So I can give you a short introduction. The documentation is currently wrong, I think, and this is something that we may be changing today or at a future time. It says that it's the base Rails application used at Thoughtbot, sort of. So Suspenders is a Rails application generator currently. So you can run Suspenders and the project name, and this will generate a new Rails application with some of the configuration that Thoughtbot likes baked in from the get-go. So things like this, maybe, for example, it sets up simple form or sidekick, whatever. Over time, we've realized that it's not as useful to have everything. One example might be it's what it says here, ready to deploy to Heroku. We don't necessarily deploy to Heroku that often anymore, so that makes no sense per default. So there's been a plan for a while to make suspenders more modular and have you generate your Rails app as usual with, sorry, where is it? So
I just asked, what do you mean by more? What do you mean by more modular?
what I mean by that is, so you would generate a Rails app with Rails new and not using the suspenders command, and
Okay,
then you would be able to run generators like this. So, for example, Rails generator suspenders CI, and this will configure, let's say, Circle CI or GitHub Actions or what have you. Um, One
okay, that makes
example,
sense.
yeah. So it's a bit what's going on here with version 3. And I can show you, for example, one generator that's already been merged into this branch for version 3 is the accessibility generator. What it does is, actually, I'm not sure. Let's see. it installs two gems, Capybara Accessibility Audit and Capybara Accessible Selectors. So I think the audit one adds extra assertions for tests to check if the pages are accessible using a certain API. And accessible selectors allows you to interact with the page from the point of view of a user who's actually using a, let's say, actually I'm not sure. But anyway, that's just an example. Another generator would be the one for the factories that's currently also in progress. So this one installs factory bot. Let's see an example in the code.
Yeah, that might help.
A lot of it is tests. Hold on, factory generator. I think that's the one. There's a description of the generator. And then there's the actual code that, for example, adds this gem to the gem file and then would run bundle install for you. And then it would add some files to your project. And here the logic is a bit more complicated because we're trying to support both the default test suite in Rails, which is with MIDI-test and all of the extensions that Rails provides, and the alternative would be RSpec.
Yeah.
So we have both. But I guess if you go back to this one, this might be a better example. This is a much smaller generator. Add some gems to the gem file, and then runs bundle install for you. And there might be.
And so, just on a high level, generators, is that something which is built into Rails? Is something which is just helpful, like almost like a helpful tool just to build, just to generate things. Could be anything.
Yeah. So you might have used them with commands like, well, here we're not in a Rails project, but just if you've ever done something like Rails
G-migration, for example.
Migration, or I've never used the mod, or I don't often use the model or just the scaffolding ones, but and you can have generators for everything. It's pretty flexible, and this is the tooling, the API from Rails that we're using for suspenders.
Okay, cool. And do they live in the project? They would live in a certain directory, or have like a generators directory?
In this case, they live in the gem. So the interesting thing with suspenders is you could add suspenders to your application, or actually it would not even be the case with the division for. Hold on, I had it here. You wouldn't even add it to your. Maybe you would add it to your app. You can add the gem to your app, and then you can install whatever you want, and then you can even remove suspenders from your application.
Yeah.
Because the generator is it's something that does something. It's something that modifies the files in your project, but only on demand when you run the commands. So you can run the command, commit the changes, and then remove suspenders.
Yeah.
It's something that's very useful towards the beginning of projects, where you might say, okay, I want to add this test framework. And by the way, if you've ever configured, let's say, RSpec, I think RSpec itself has a generator included in the RSpec gem. So similarly, suspenders adds a few of those. Very useful
it's
at the beginning.
Yeah, it's kind of like that boilerplate code. Exactly.
And we have a list here, and this is not set in stone. All of us at Thoughtbot, I guess, because suspenders is primarily a Thoughtbot tool. All of us can decide what is a priority, what we don't want to do anymore. For example, I see that Maybe in the past we added some analytics to applications, and as a general rule, we don't do client-side analytics anymore, and so this is not something we're adding.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So as
So
part of so Suspenders currently is on, I'm assuming, a 2-point version.
mhm.
And so the overall long-term goal is to get to Suspenders to version 3 where it's modular. And
Yeah.
this is a PR which is up to do that, to get Suspenders to version 3. But it seems like off this branch, Suspenders 3-0-0, there's loads of individual branches which are working on each section.
This is what I understand. Yes, I haven't contributed to this yet, but if we look at the commit history, that's indeed the case. I think there's one commit that does the changelog changes and maybe changes the version of the gem,
Right.
and then the individual pull requests target this branch. I'm not sure exactly if the release policy. I guess yeah, we're keeping the work in a long running
Okay.
branch for now.
So is our plan to choose one of these things in progress to try and get it working, or is our plan to pick a new thing? Um, what's our goal?
I would I would try to pick one of those that is planned to be added. So Steve Polito, who's opened this pull request and who's leading the effort of, I think, leading the effort of getting us to version 3, has recommended going with the inline SVG generator because it's a smaller one and probably something we can achieve within this stream.
Cool.
How does that sound?
It sounds good. I have worked with SVGs once or twice. Don't really understand what they are, what they do. My understanding is like instead of taking a picture and putting it in the assets folder, an SVG is something you can put directly into the code itself. I once went down a rabbit hole of trying to work out how they work, and that was a bad rabbit hole to go down. So I left that quickly. But yeah, let's. I don't know if we need to understand exactly what an SVG is to get this working. So yeah, let's have a look.
Yeah. So this is the existing generator, I think, and we need to figure out how to port this generator to the new architecture for Suspenders 3. But in
Okay.
this particular case, I think we're targeting this gem, inline SVG,
Yeah, let's have a
which,
look at that. See what it does.
yeah. So what it does is usually you have with SVGs. You have different features depending on whether the SVG is inline in your document, meaning you have your HTML and then an SVG tag and the internals of the SVG image, or whether you're importing the SVG as an image tag. Do you know what I mean? So
Not sure.
let's see. I'm going to try to give a small example here. So let's say we have an SVG and I'm not sure how this works. I think it's something like this.
Right, am I right in saying an SVG draws itself, like as
Perhaps
you render it? Perhaps. Okay, I don't know either.
I don't know how that works.
I feel
But
like there might be some designers out there who are like, "What are you talking about?" But please feel free to troll us in the comments. We're only a real stream once we get some trolls, so we
exactly.
really appreciate that.
Um, so I'm not sure this, I mean, we can test it, but I don't want to get too deep in the details. But this would be
Okay.
an example of a inline SVG. This one is embedded into the document. But
Yeah.
what you can also do is, I'm opening this new file called example SVG, and I'm going to put the code here. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
And then what you can also do is image source. We have some as you were talking about trolling, Rob has joined the chat to say did someone call. Hi Rob.
Yeah. It's great. It's great to have Rob on board.
All right. So going back to the code, do you see there's also this style? This would have a similar effect to having the SVG inline, but you store the images as external files and then you import them as images.
Mm.
Does that make sense so far?
Yeah, it does make sense, and it's going to be probably much easier for you to manage in your code base to be able to extract. Because I've seen SVGs where there are a lot of characters going over multiple lines, so that makes sense to try and get them out of your HTML.
Yeah.
So yeah,
the problem with this approach here that I added is if you do it as an image, you cannot style the SVG with CSS. When it's inline, CSS applies. There's even an example here. I could say that the fill of the SVG is a certain color, or maybe it's a certain size, and so on. If you have it as an image, the browser won't let you style this. Let's call it external SVG. And so what you want to do for flexibility is to actually have it inline. And what this gem does is it provides you a helper, I guess this one, so that in your ERB template you can say this is my example SVG. Let's ignore the classes for now. So that looks very similar to the image one, but
right.
When your template compiles, in the HTML that's actually returned to the browser is the one
Is
with
the
the
whole
SVG.
thing.
So you get the best of both worlds. You can manage your images as external files. Maybe they're extracted from Figma or whatever tool that you're using for design, but they get delivered inline to the browser, which means you can have CSS acting upon it.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
that's cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, so I'm not going to even save these. This is what we're working on. And I guess the existing generator, if I find it, installs the gem and adds an inline SVG configuration file, which we can figure out what it does. But we're trying to get this code, this bit of code in the new architecture. Make sense?
Right. Yeah, so this is the old one, which would have run automatically when you did that suspenders G Rails, whatever the syntax was.
Yeah.
And we want to put this into the new architecture where it can be run as an option as part of the suspenders gem.
Yeah.
If you choose to run this specific generator. Okay.
Yeah. So let's try. What I suggest is we try looking at how the other generators in the new architecture were implemented. So
yeah,
looking at this one, for example, one thing I notice is we need to go to the suspenders version 3 branch. Yeah, that's the one. Make sure I have the latest things. And do we have a bin setup script? we might do. Ooh. How does that? I was not expecting this thing.
Do you want to try run it on the main branch and see if that's working?
Can do. I first would like to check. Yes, we can run on the main branch, sure. But I yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I wonder if bin setup has ever been run on that suspenders 3.00 branch, and that could be another issue which needs to be resolved.
Yeah, that's a good call. Also, there's a nice contributing section here, so we might want to look at that. So we want to check out suspenders 3 and go from there.
Yeah.
Let's give it a try. Even here now, if I run bundle, yeah, no, it doesn't like that. But you know what? Maybe that's. I wonder. Can we still run the tests? Not like this. How does one run the tests? I guess with Drake. Suspenders. I bet the problem is that I have the wrong version of Ruby. Oh yeah, okay. So this is using the default version of Ruby that's on macOS, I guess.
Okay.
And there's nothing here in Ruby version. I guess it is actually saying suspenders depends on a Ruby version greater than 3.1. What we do on other projects is we have a tool called ASDF.
Yeah.
That manages Ruby versions and other things. And I'm going to change. Oh, I guess I already had a version here. Let's change to the latest one or one of them that I have installed. Okay. So now, yeah. So I guess I had this repository going for a long time, and last time I tried doing something, it was version 3.0 of Ruby.
Yeah.
So my bad. Anyway, let's ignore this change for now. What were we doing? We were trying to check out a new branch, right?
Yeah, let's go to a new branch.
Yeah. By the way, here I'm using a lot of aliases that I have with Git, but I can also type out the command for the sake of understanding what I'm doing. So we want something like this. What do we call the branch?
What is the name of the generator? Inline SVG generator.
Yeah. And how was it done for accessibility? Oh, it was just named accessibility generator. Okay, yeah. Inline SVG generator. Forgot to. Okay, we have our branch. I'm going to remove this thing for now.
Okay.
I think it's not relevant. And I'm going to try to run the tests. Bin test. Nice. What does bin test do? Okay. So
That doesn't seem like a lot of tests.
no, and I think that's the point, because as we're starting this new architecture and we're porting generators one by one, there's only been what, 2 generators added?
Oh,
This one
okay,
is
I see.
complete. Actually, only 1 generator. Yeah, so not a lot of tests. The main branch has a lot of tests, and they're very slow
Okay.
because it has to generate a Rails app every time, install all the gems, do a lot of setup. Imagine all the stuff that Rails is doing, like installing also JavaScript dependencies or what have you, and it gets rather slow. And I think one of the goals, even though it's not stated explicitly here, is reducing the test time. I guess, yeah, improving the developer experience and reducing technical debt. So for
Yeah.
me, it's awesome that I can run the test in less than a second.
Yeah. It would be interesting then to see what the tests are like, to see if we could test drive
Sure.
yeah, this sort of change.
Uh, so let's look at, well, let's look at the accessibility generator tests. There's the actual file,
So
and
this is the
then,
completed one.
yeah, this is one of the
Okay.
completed ones. And
Okay.
then there's a test file. So you're saying you want to test drive this, right?
Yeah, I would like to do that. I just don't know how to test something which I don't even really understand. Well, I do understand what it's doing in terms of putting text into files. So it's adding something to the gem file and it's adding something to the maybe a config file. It'd be interesting to see how that's tested.
Yeah. Um, yeah, we have this kind of structure. So we have some modules, and the tests inherit from Rails generators test case, which I believe it is provided by Rails. Let's quickly see in the test helper what kind of structure we have. I don't know about fixtures. Okay, it feels like we have a few utilities to do things like add a file, remove a file, this kind of thing. And this can be useful because as we are running generators, these generators add files into the project, and we have a Rails application that's only for testing purposes within this repository. And you want to remove the generated files after each test to clean up. In a Rails application, usually you would be resetting the database state, but here the state is on the file system, so we want to remove those files. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. So going back to our example, so this is the accessibility generator test. Let's add a new one. Test generators, suspenders, inline SVG generator test. Do we call it inline SVG generator, or do we call it something else?
Um,
That's what it was called before.
yeah, I think that looks right.
Okay. So above I have the test for the existing generator, and below I want to add something new. So, well, the first thing is we need to import the code that we're going to test.
Yeah.
And this file doesn't exist yet. So I guess it's cool that we're test driving, because this will force us to create the first file.
Yeah.
Inline SVG generator. I have a, this is not good. Or maybe it is good.
Yeah, I think that's saying it can't load that file that we just required.
Yeah, I don't know. It's running Rails test. Might be the wrong command. I have a shortcut in my editor to run the test in the file that's open. So I might need a different way of running the tests, but at least now I think this makes sense. This error here.
Yeah.
So what we can do is create this file as an empty, not open file for writing. Let me do that. Is it in, oh, it's supposed to be in lib, I bet. Yeah. So back here, if I try my keyboard shortcut again, which is the leader in Vim, which I've mapped to comma T, runs the file. I'm not sure if, again, I'm not sure if it's running the right thing, but at least it says there's no tests. Let's try to add at least a single test. The description doesn't matter yet because I want to fail this test. Okay, no, this is giving us useful input, and I'm getting a bit cramped here for the purpose of this part. I'm going to go full screen. I think that's a bit better for all of us. You need to configure your Rails generator's test case destination route. Maybe destination route is set. I think we're missing a few things from here.
Okay.
It only complained about one thing, which is the destination route. So let's fix this mess. Let's change this failure message first. I'm not going to add the other things.
Yeah.
Huh. Well, this is useless.
Yeah, that doesn't really help us.
Okay, I was expecting a better error, but maybe because maybe this is that my error actually?
Oh, interesting.
Not implemented.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Okay, great. What are those? Prepare destination and remove. I think we want to copy those because what we're doing in this generator is we're adding something to the gem file. Would you agree?
Yeah, so I think we need that kind of setup around it.
Yeah. I'll do the same thing where I put them in a private section and
oh, I see. Okay, so we've got those set up and tear down keywords, which is cool. Or methods.
Yeah, methods. Okay, so still not implemented. What would we want to do? There's a test here about raises if API only application. I think that would make sense in our case as well because, first of all, do you understand what an API only application is?
Yeah, so an API only application will be when someone, I don't know if you have to start Rails in this way, but I guess that's maybe the only way of understanding it. It's an API only application. You can start Rails with an API flag when you generate Rails. Mm-hmm. And that will basically create a Rails application without views and other stuff that the views depend on. And given that we're doing an inline SVG generator, or which will implement an inline SVG gem, it's not going to have much impact for an API where there is no front end view. So it would make sense that if someone tries to generate this generator on an API only application which has no views, we should raise an error, and it looks like it's got a built-in error or a custom error which has been created already for this API app unsupported.
Mhm.
So that would be, yes, I think that is helpful to do.
All right. Do we want to do this first, or do we want to first get the happy path going?
Yeah, I think let's do happy path.
Okay.
And then we can worry about that after.
Okay. It seems to me like one of the happy path tests would be adds gems to the gem file, because that's the primary thing the generator would be doing.
Yeah, I would like to do that one. That one also kind of makes more sense. I can visualize that quite well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that'd be good.
Neat. So what we do in this test is run, well, the setup is really saying what expected output we have. We run
Yeah.
the generator and we check that
In that
this
gem, it looks like
file,
we're in that gem file there is text which
yeah,
matches the text we assigned to the expected output variable in the setup.
yeah. So what if I took all of this?
Yeah,
And
we can repurpose that, which is a nice way of saying copy and paste. I feel much better
nice.
about it now.
That's inline SVG, but is it in a group? If we go back,
A good question. Can we see
to
what
the
the gem file looks like?
which one?
Sorry, I was just thinking how, yeah, with that, see, when you're generating this, right, you're generating it to go into someone else's project.
Yeah, a Rails
So,
application.
Rails application, and they've got a gem file. So, I mean, I guess we would initially we'd want this gem to run on all environments.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm guessing it'll just go at the kind of root level of the gem file, if that makes sense, as in not inside a group, is what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah. And this corresponds also to what are the to the instructions for installing the gem.
I see. Yeah, that's clever. Yeah, yeah. Look at those instructions. Yeah, good idea.
Okay, so I mean, let's run this. Undefined method start for nil in nil class. I bet it's, well, we can check. Why don't we check what? No, Rails generator is actually within Rails itself. I bet what we're missing is a start method in our generator or something.
Okay.
Let's let's jump
Do we?
to the other file
What
here.
does? I see what you're saying. So run generator is a method that's provided for us by Rails, so we don't actually see what that's doing.
I think we could see what that is we could see what this is doing by going to this file, I guess.
I wonder if that's doing like just described class dot start sort of thing, where it's just calling that start method on the object under test. That's my assumption.
Nice. So this gives us an example of a generator test case.
Okay.
We're supposed to say which generator we're testing, the destination, that that we had already, and there's optionally some setup and tear down, and then test, and then we run the generator with flags or no flags.
Okay. Okay.
Oh,
Cool.
and line 72 where the error was is it's saying generator class dot start. So our generator class did not exist yet. I think that we have. Oh, also I just realized I called this accessibility generator test, but it really should be
Inline
inline
SVG.
SVG.
Yeah.
Oh, and now is that should that be capital letters or oops or like this?
I
What
like
would you
the look of
expect?
lowercase. Yeah, lowercase better.
Okay. And I think that might also be consistent with what the auto loading in Rails is like,
Right.
where if you have something like this in the file name, only the first letter is capitalized in the constant name. You know what? We didn't. So in this example here, we have it says which generator it's testing, and we didn't provide anything. I skipped that on purpose, but
It
it's
seems
not.
like we're going to need that. Yeah, we won't be able to find our file.
Yeah.
But it was nice to do it in that way, so we could get to a point where we understood why we would need it and what that line was doing.
But I'm still. Let's see the error message again. Yeah, for nil class. So I bet if we say which generator we're testing, it's going to change the message to undefined method start for suspenders inline SVG generator.
Let's give that a try.
New error. Uninitialized constant. Well, that's exactly what we need, because, and Ruby is even trying to be helpful
We
because
don't have that class.
Yeah. Great. So let's create it. Is it a class? I guess it's a class. Nice. So this is what we expected.
Brilliant.
This was saying new class before, and we have so it's saying we don't have a start method.
Yeah.
Still saying we don't have a start method.
Oh, interesting.
On the class, is that? Let's check it on the accessibility generator. Yeah, maybe this is something. Oh, I noticed one difference here. We're not inheriting from
the base.
The
and
base.
Maybe it's a method up there. Okay. So it now has access to the start method. It's running the generator, but it's not finding the text it expects in that gen file.
Yeah. And we would expect that because we're not doing anything.
Yeah. So should we do the thing? Should we pass the test? Let's try get it green in the most basic way.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the most basic way, since we're already doing something very similar to here, would be to what was the word you used? Repurpose?
Yeah, let's repurpose.
Nice. I might even copy the description here above. What I'm going to do is skip the bundling part because I want to test drive this.
Okay.
So this description is different as well.
Yeah.
Add inline SVG gem, right? It's not in a group as we established. We only have one gem, and the gem is called inline SVG. So that
there
passed,
you have it.
but I don't really trust it. So let's have a typo or something. Yeah. How did you do that? Tuple?
On tuple. Yeah. You can do stuff like that.
Awesome.
Let's just ship it. I'm interested to understand, like, what knows to call add inline SVG gem. So when we do run generator, something magically knows in the base class to call and add inline SVG gem. So often you can have like the method to be like a perform.
Yeah.
And then okay, well that makes more sense. It's more conventional, and it's the same method, so it always knows to send the perform message to the class.
Yeah.
But like we're changing that name. Like what would happen if you what would happen if you changed it to a different name? Does it always run it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes. I don't have I don't know, but I have a theory. You're muted.
Yeah.
My theory is that, and we can research that. My theory is that when you inherit from this, the generator space keeps track of the defined methods, and especially the public defined methods, I guess. And those are like steps in the generator. Because if we had two things, like here I could do something else.
But second method or something, yeah.
And I could add a different gem.
Interesting. So you think it just cascades almost down and says, right, I'm calling the first method in order and then the second method.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, let's give it a try. If I now say this also added capybara, it did. And again, let's make it type.
Let's make it fail.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So it understands that when you're running a generator, there needs to be some sort of procedural kind of code in methods, which it runs from top to bottom.
Yeah. Maybe, and now I'm switching back to this. I haven't looked into why it does that.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Do we need to look into it right now?
No, definitely not. That's just my brain wondering about the mystery of what lies underneath.
Yeah.
But for now, we have enough of an understanding.
Yeah, it's a great question though.
Test. Yeah.
So we have one test passing, and we have an empty description. I'm wondering, oh yeah, the generator has a description. Yeah, shall we start adding new test cases now? For example, that it installs the gems with bundler.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah. Just a heads up, we're looking at taking a break in about 10 minutes.
Cool.
That'll be halfway through.
Awesome. So let's make, oops, I didn't copy this properly. I learned a shortcut recently that is, oh, you know what? It doesn't, It doesn't detect these test blocks as methods. That's why
Interesting.
I mean, my editor doesn't, or my editor plugin doesn't. It doesn't
Right.
matter. We want to run exactly this one method. I'm wondering, why don't we run generator here?
What do you mean by run generator? Oh, I see. To just run it and see that it gets installed, right?
Maybe it's because here we're doing something with the generator instance. We're setting the. Sorry, let me write it out first. I think the reason we're doing that is that we don't actually run the bundle install, but we set a what's the word? A mock? No, we're setting this expectation, and that
Like a spy. A spy. Is that
could be. I'm getting my
a, a,
terminology mixed up.
a test double? We're creating or a stub. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we are expecting that it's going to run it once.
So what we're saying is we're stubbing the bundler class, and then
yes. So I think this comes from Mocha. This Mocha gem.
oh, okay.
Oops. Which actually, yeah. Let's say, is there any documentation? What about yield? No. What we can do is either find it here. I don't know what I clicked. There's nothing about yield. Or yields, right? Do you understand this? So we're creating a mock.
Yeah.
Then when you call measure on it, it yields. I don't quite.
Yeah. I don't understand either, and we don't. I don't think we need to understand it as well fully.
Yeah. Or is that? Yeah, I don't know. I don't work with this gem often. I'm
Actually,
okay with
I've never worked with mocks either. Yeah.
I'm okay with ignoring this.
Yeah.
But maybe I'll chase it down later. And my main point was it's not actually running bundle install. It's saying, did you intend to run bundle install? Because running
Right.
bundle install in the test would actually do a network request, install the gems, all of this.
Yeah.
And that would be a slow test, and we want fast tests.
And then capture standard out.
Yes.
What does that exactly mean? That means we're looking at the output to the logs or something.
I don't know, actually. I think capture comes from Minitest.
Okay. So I'm just trying to work out what we are asserting. I know we have one assertion at the top of the test, which is we expect it to run bundle install.
Hold on, capture. the other thing we could do is look if it comes from Rails. No, There's capture.io, but this is something else. And you actually put it in somewhere in a variable. I don't know. We can check if this is defined somewhere.
I just wonder, like, if you didn't have line 30 to 32, what would we get in the test? Like, what would it?
Yeah, shall we make it pass first? Because
Yeah,
now
let's put it
even if
pass.
we had something, I think we wouldn't see it actually. All right, it's saying not all expectations were satisfied. It expected exactly once, but was never invoked. Run bundle install on the generator instance, and also never ran bundler with unbundled and with any parameters.
Right. I just got a message from my wife to say I'm watching you, and it's awkward that you don't understand what you're doing. So this is my one moment to kind of show her that I'm really good at what I do. And there she is watching the stream, struggling to understand. But it's an interesting point, right? Because I guess there's this misconception that sometimes a developer or a coder programmer can know everything and knows what to do and jumps in and is almost like you have this. I think if you go to Google Images and you search, a developer, you see someone with like three screens with those Matrix green lines from the Matrix movie running up and down. And a lot of it is we work it out as we go along. Sometimes it's just about asking the right questions. It's impossible to know everything. What would be kind of your response? Do you have similar feelings?
I definitely agree with that. I don't think it's possible to know everything. And that's also the reason why we're doing this together, right? We're learning from each other, and we're learning from, like, one of us maybe has a past experience that may lead to the answer. So maybe you have a hunch about this, and then we go Google it, and then it's
exactly.
Also it's too much. Like we've been walking this line of do we want to understand every line of code, or do we want to get the job done and trust that whoever set up the existing tests and the existing code knew what they were doing?
Yeah, and that's a big part of kind of like object-oriented design and development is the ability to trust other objects, that when you send them messages, they will do the thing that you've asked them to do without having to delve into the code. And I'm guilty of that sometimes as well. Just I want to understand everything, and it's like you've got to trust other objects. But either way, my wife won't be getting any merch from this channel, this stream, with that level of trolling. But we appreciate all the viewers and all their views. But yeah, this seems like it's a good time probably to take a 5-minute break as we come up to the hour mark.
Yeah.
And then we'll come back in and we can look at passing that test, the bundle install one.
Yes. I forgot that one can play music. But anyway, as we are taking a break, I might try to play some music, and we'll mute ourselves and be back in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, let's do it.
Welcome back. You know what, Sammy? I cannot hear you. I still cannot hear you, but while you're figuring out the technical issues, I'm going to continue writing these tests. So we currently have a test for adding gems to the gem file and one for actually running bundler. And we might want to test also that the generator has a description. And I'll take more or less the same test. I think you're back.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if I get back my headphones.
The joys of technology.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we're back.
We are back. So I added well, actually, before we get to the new test, I just realized something during the break. I might not have made it explicit why we're adding this generator in the first place. It seems like if we're just installing one gem, why do we need a generator for that?
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the first thing is if it's so simple, it's a good exercise for us to understand how more complex generators could work. But I also believe there's an extra configuration file that we add, and it's this one, inline SVG. With some setting. And I bet that this is not a default, and maybe we can check that, we can double check that. But I bet this is not the default in the library.
Right.
Raise. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so this would be the beauty of generators. You can realize, okay, I need inline SVGs in this project. Go set up the gem, but you might forget that on most projects you want this setting because this setting was vetted as good for a thoughtbot project, and and then suddenly you have something missing or something is not is not configured as you'd expect across projects, and you lose time. And so this is where the generator comes in. Here we have one setting, but on other gems it might be a bit more complicated, or just automation avoids errors here. That's my conclusion, at least.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point.
So going back to test driving the implementation of this generator, I added a new test that the generator has a description. And when we run that, it says initialize constant because I didn't repurpose the text, the test. They should read inline SVG generator. So first of all, we expect something else as a description, but it also says we have no description. So it didn't see this, it saw an empty string. What do we want? I guess installs inline SVG. And we can make it pass by copying the exact same string.
Nice.
Okay, starting to look good. At least when it comes to the happy path. I did mention we do have this extra file, right? And in this example,
You mean the config file?
the config file, yes.
Yeah.
Which we don't have here. So what can we do?
So we can look at the test and the accessibility file. And how do they test the config? Because they also had a config file, right?
Do they? There's none
no,
that
they
I can
don't.
see.
No. Okay.
Yeah. What we can do is something very similar. We could assert that the file exists, or how would we want to test it? Would we want to test that in the generated Rails application, there's a file at a certain location that contains a certain string?
Yeah, I think so. I think that test would give me a lot of confidence that the file is there and it contains exactly what we want it to contain.
Yeah. Sorry for jumping so much around files. I think we have something similar here. We're asserting there is a file, there's a gem file within the application, and then we're matching something. So
yeah, that's a good spot.
if we added a new test, if we added a new test, how would we call the test scenario?
Who generates config file? Or something like that.
Configures the gem? Or specifically in here, configures raising errors on file not found?
Yeah, we can be more specific.
Lost my terminal. Configures raising errors or raising an error when when an SVG file is not found. Okay. We have to figure out which file this is. Yeah. I mean, what would we expect? I would expect this to be in an initializer.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's config. You might have to do app because you're at that route anyway. So config initializers, and then inline SVG.
And then would we want the exact match, or would we want this line?
Confidence-wise, it would probably be good to know it's done the right. It's called configure on the right class.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Do you feel like that's overkill?
What
would be the reason not to? Yeah. Okay. Let's start with that.
Yeah, we can start with that. The reason not to would be and it's not a scenario we have right now. But what if there are more configuration settings, and we want to have a test for each one of them?
Right.
It's a bit hypothetical. I don't think we
Yeah.
have this case right now.
Okay, so we can go with that, and then if that happens, the test can be refactored.
Yeah. We had an assert match. Oh, there's this expected output. It's not expected output, but let's call it expected configuration, maybe.
Yeah.
And it's using this squiggly.
Nice.
What did we have with insert match? Expected output on the file. Almost expected contents actually, but I expect this to fail, of course. First of all, because I have a typo somewhere. Configuration. No? What was... Did I misread the error? Undefined method.
Okay, expected configuration. So when that string...
Assert match. Oh.
Okay, it needs an equals.
Yes. That would make a lot of sense.
Okay, so the path name does not exist.
Yeah. So there's no this type of file. So test is the test directory. Dummy is the test application that we have in this directory, and then underneath that there should be a config initializer inline svg.rb. How would we fix this? I guess we would fix this by actually copying the file over, right? Or creating this file in the implementation of the generator.
Yeah, I think the generator would have to create this file, right? I think this is the test we expect, where we're saying it doesn't exist yet because we haven't written the implementation code yet.
Yeah.
Add inline svg config.
Okay, and here I don't remember. So generator.
I don't remember the syntax either to add a file.
But we did see it in the existing implementation, which was on the other branch. Copy file. There you go. I think we wanted this.
So what is that doing? That's copying inline svg.rb into config initializer inline svg.rb.
Yeah.
But we might not have that initial inline svg.rb file in our test application.
Mm-hmm. So this comes from the this comes from the templates I showed before. So this comes from the gem, and this is the destination in the generated application.
So in the branch that we're testing, we have that template.
We do not yet, but we can get. So there's this structure. Oh, I don't have this command. There's this structure in lib.
Yeah.
Where I think we have generators, and you can have a templates directory. In fact, let's create that one. Lib.
I think it's under suspenders in GitHub.
Is it?
Suspenders templates.
I think it's top level actually.
Okay. Oh, suspenders there is the root. Okay.
But we can double check it.
Yeah, no, let's do it the root file.
You know what? Let's check the other. There's this not the accessibility generator, but I think one of the others, the factories generator,
Okay.
copies a file as well. See copy file factories into test factories, for example. So this is in lib generators templates.
Okay.
I think, yeah, all of them are. So we'll make a directory in lib generators templates. And then I'm not sure, but I bet that this factories here is the name of the, is to match the name of the factories to name the match of the factories generator so that everything is kind of tidy, nice and tidy.
It's all namespaced, which is kind of making sure we have that modular architecture.
Yeah. And what's more, in this file, in this place now, we can add, I lost it. We can add this file, right? We call it inline SVG. And I'm even going to add the contents because why not? We know this is what we're going to do. Okay, going back to the implementation, we would have this. I'm also taking the name of the function because add configuration, I don't know, configure sounds more direct and
Yeah, let's do that.
Did I? Oh yeah, indentation is wrong. Okay. So the file is not found. Again. And that could be because of two reasons, I guess. One is we copied to the wrong destination, right? That could be it.
Yeah, it looks like the file paths are different. If you've got code suspenders, test generators, suspenders, inline SVG, and then the expected file is just test dummy config.
Let's do something here. We have this teardown which restores the destination, which first of all, we're not even cleaning up properly because we're only removing the gem file.
Okay.
That's I think we should do that as well.
Yeah.
But because we're not doing that, that means that there actually might be files now on the system that
I've just not been removed.
exactly in the test directory. So there's this dummy application, right? Initializers, and no, it's not copied there. Huh.
But why are we copying it to the dummy? In the code that we ran,
Oh, yeah.
uh, we say file app root config. Yeah, convert line SVG to config initializer. So maybe I didn't put it in even in the dummy application.
Yeah, you're saying the uproot could be somewhere else. Here I'd be tempted to do the... Oh, all right, I just realized something. Did we... We have not run the generator.
Oh, okay.
I guess we should do that. Or do we call... Yeah. That my question is, do we call this function, this method directly, or do we run the inline generator, knowing that if we run the entire generator, it might do more things than we want?
Ideally, in a unit test, we just want to test that unit of code, which would be that method. It depending on whether we have access to do that though, because like we've seen, they've been using this run generator, which under the hood grabs the generator and calls the start method. So I wonder how tricky it would be to try and call the individual method. But maybe we could just instantiate the class.
Shall we do it high level first? So
Yeah.
I think this is stable test API.
Yeah.
Let's get it to pass maybe, and then we can.
And then we can look at that.
If we have time, we can improve it.
Yeah.
All right. So it still doesn't exist, and it's saying it should be here, in this directory.
So the assertion is expecting it. The assertion, the app root we use as part of the assertion knows to go to test dummy. But when we do the copy in the implementation, I wonder what that's actually doing. Where is it putting inline svg.rb?
Yeah. Good call. We might want to do put a debugger breakpoint here. I don't know if this is the right. Yeah, I think it's the right thing. Let's run only this test here. I think we're stuck in the debugger, but we don't see the prompt.
Okay. If you pwd, give us anything?
No. Well, that's interesting. Now at least it said something else when I interrupted the test.
Okay.
Source path. Right. Source path with the path containing your templates. That's very useful, and I'm wondering why this error was not displayed before. But yeah, source path. So generator's base.
Just so I understand the error, it's trying to copy the file inline svg.rb, but it's saying it cannot find that file because the destination where it exists is not in the path. Is that correct?
Because of the location, yeah, it's trying to search for that file somewhere, but it cannot find it at that location. And so it might be looking in the wrong place.
Right.
So let's look at this source root. Is that something that's... Is that something that we would do in the generator or in the test? I guess in the generator, because that would make sense. Do we have source root on in this pull request? We do.
Okay.
Oh, I think I still have the...
Yeah, the binding.
Oh, it's in the actual implementation. Nice, new error message.
Cool. Progress.
Huh.
Interesting. Okay. So this, well, I would think, because the gem isn't really installed. Is that the error that we're getting here? So the gem hasn't been in the test environment. We run the tests. We never really installed the gem.
Yeah.
And so therefore this class does not exist.
Yeah. Let's, I suggest we look at the implementation of the factories generator and check what they do, because there is extra configuration there.
Yeah.
Copy file. So the file does reference the a constant that's in the that comes from the gem. So we would normally have a similar problem if it hasn't installed the gem.
Yeah.
So then, in the generator test, what does it do? Creates a definition file. It's doing something very similar to our test, isn't it? We are...
Yeah, it seems almost the same.
Is it that...
They do...
They... okay, so side by side. They say what is expected, run the generator, then assert a file at approot and then a certain directory. That's fine. Do file and then assert a match of the file at this location. Is there perhaps something else here?
Yeah, what's the setup also? Or they've got test helpers as well. We have that. But what is the prepare destination? What does that do?
Oh, that's something else. I guess it creates also a directory, but that directory seems to exist in the...
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to my window size. That directory already exists here, right? We have config initializers because that comes with, oh, and here's the file we haven't cleaned up. Well, let's at least inspect the file.
Yeah.
Config initializers this. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's fine, but why is it trying to load the file then?
Is it maybe a different test that will try to load the file? So if it runs the test in different orders?
So I'm trying to do something here, which is run a single test. I have a shortcut, so it runs a test at line 47. Let's run a different test.
Yeah.
For example, the one about the description. Okay, so it's always and let's have a look at the stack trace. It's not a great indicator, but it's trying to load it or to, well, I don't know if it's trying to load. Yeah, it's load config initializer.
Yeah. Just, yeah, I don't know how do we avoid that because, well, a teardown would help, right? If we were doing a teardown after that test, then it wouldn't be there for the other test, and the other test would pass.
True. Yeah. Yeah. I'm wondering, do they do something with the constants? They don't. Yeah, let's do at least do the teardown. So that I agree with you, it would make only this test fail. So I guess we also remove the file if it exists, and the file would be specifically config, well, this path from
Nice.
this path here. I'm going to remove it once manually.
Yes.
And then try to run a test. For example, the first test.
Yeah, it's from the first one. Nice, that passes. And if you check the file, it wouldn't be on the file system now.
Yeah.
Because you never run it, but does the bundle test pass?
Yes.
Nice.
And again, it's not there. I'm going to run all the tests. Huh.
So maybe, I don't know, maybe it tries to load it after the test.
Yeah, perhaps, yeah. I mean, I'm glad we fixed it.
Yeah.
Shall we make the test fail, because we've seen errors, but we haven't seen. So let's say this is false or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, not great formatting, but it's
okay.
false.
Needs matched inline true. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, I'm happy with that for this part of the test, and it was good to see that in this test that they're also running run generator.
Yeah.
So that answers our question of what exactly do we do to exercise this part of the code.
Yeah. So with about 15 minutes to go, are we in a place to try and get a PR up?
Soon. I think we might be missing one important edge case, which was the API only.
Oh, the API. Okay,
application.
let's try. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
That's why we pair, folks. Because I would have merged straight into main.
In the accessibility generator, there was, I mean, first in the test, there was something about it raises if API on the application, and it doesn't raise if it's commented out. And what they're doing is testing. So in the first case,
I see. That I was wondering, how do they know if it's an API application or not? Right?
but I mean, there's a helper that sets up the correct kind of application.
I see. Okay.
We can add that to the top to
Yeah.
mimic the same sequence. And let's take an assertion of something we know exists, or should exist if it's, hold on, here, inline SVG, because we don't need the exact match. And so currently we haven't implemented anything, so this assertion should fail actually.
Yes.
And also this should, I mean, when the assertion fails, it will stop running the test, but this should also fail here. So let's try it. Was expected, but nothing was raised. So let's assume, let's ignore that for now and run the generator. We're expecting it to not include, but it did include.
It did include it.
Yeah. All right. So I saw this a bit earlier in the accessibility generator. They include this module, and I bet this is all we need.
What do they do? They include
API.
Oh, an API support module. Oh, okay.
Though I wonder where it comes from.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see what it does.
No, that's a test. Okay, when included, so I need to clean up all of this. When this module is included, it defines a method, and then
Interesting, yeah, and it checks the Rails application.rb config if the flag API only is set to true.
Yeah.
If it is set to true, we'll raise that error.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wonder if this thing here raises, like, what is this called by? That's my question. Maybe it's called by Rails itself. Maybe it's a hook into the Rails generator thing to say, we know some applications are in API only mode, and this is what you need to do for a customer.
Right, so meaning because we can't see where that method is called in our generator, we don't actually implement it. So that's a really good point.
Yeah, we can look it up on GitHub, but
exactly.
As you said, we only have so much time. All right, so I added the module here, so then I expect this to pass. Nice, and it did.
Nice.
And there was, in the accessibility generator test, there was one more test case. Raises if API only application, and then does not raise if the application is commented out.
Right.
Sorry, if the configuration is commented out. Okay.
I wonder if that's an edge case, because normally we expect Well, I wonder what Rails does by default. If it has it uncommented and false,
Mm.
or is it so when you start a new Rails app without the API flag, is it uncommented or as false, or is it commented out? Um, yeah, it's interesting.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Nice.
and again, let's have a type or something just to make sure we're testing the right thing. Okay, good. Nice. Very nice.
Love it.
Okay, let's review. We have a few test cases about API concerned or API applications or not. Then adding to the gem file, installing the gem with bundler, having a description, and additionally, we added some tests that we have the right configuration.
Yeah.
And in fact, we have the exact configuration file, which is we debated, and this seems fine. Yeah. Okay. So.
Do you want to run the whole test suite?
Yes.
Just do a bit of regression testing. Did we break anything else? Lovely.
That added a whole second to the.
Yeah, it did take quite long. Yeah, I wonder why that was.
So I think we want to add things in lib and in test, and I might even do so. This gap thing is git add patch,
Okay.
where I usually run it to see, do I want to add the entire file or just parts of it? No changes. Oh, and it only considers things that have changed, that have already been included in the repository, which we actually don't have because these files are new. Because all of these files are new, I think that we'll be okay with adding these, and we can review now. So what I do is a GDS stands for Git Diff Staged.
Nice.
So this is our implementation. The first file is our implementation. Second file is the configuration that we want to add to the application, to the Rails app. Third file is our test.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's everything I expect.
That's nice.
And there was this change from the Ruby versions, or actually running bundle install on my Mac.
Yeah.
This is unrelated to the change. I don't want to keep this.
Yeah, I don't think we need to.
So, yeah, let's add a nice commit message. What would you say here?
You mean for the commit message?
Yeah, for the commit message. Introduce suspenders. Oh, actually, how does that work? Does that... what we haven't tested, and I think we won't be able to test it today. What we haven't tested is
Oh,
we haven't
use
done
the
an
actual
integration
generator.
Yeah.
Yeah. So well, let's just think about that. So there would be a test to test the actual command invokes this generator.
Maybe.
Yeah, what does that even look like?
Oh, and obviously we're missing documentation. All right, so there's a few things we haven't done, but right, because these tests are maybe not unit tests, but they're testing more or less in isolation. The one extra manual test we could do is create a new Rails application, then using pointed to suspenders and specifically the local development version of suspenders, and then run the generator and see if we have this.
Yeah. Should the generator just work out the box though? Is that the idea, that it's set up to be able just, so as long as it's got the files in the correct directories, then you could just run it, right?
So I'm going to do what I often do if I know that I'm missing some things and I might need to revisit this. I name this work in progress. I do the usual commit and then I leave myself some breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
So this would be introduce suspenders inline SVG, and even the name is something that we can discuss again. But I'm happy with that for now. Yeah. Push the existing generator to suspenders 3. I think this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
So we want to add documentation. And what else?
An integration test, you said.
Yeah.
Also, you meant that as actually to do a manual test?
Yes. Because in our tests, I think we are actually, well, we're kind of faking a Rails app.
By calling that run generator.
Yeah, because it uses this file structure that is, this dummy directory. It contains the files for a Rails app.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, you see this type of thing. Once you have pushed the branch, you can do this locally and. I'm going to remove this example and keep the rest of the files for now. Our commit looks like this. And I'm going to push this branch.
Yeah.
I might even open a draft pull request.
Yeah, let's do it.
But it's targeting the wrong branch. We want to target suspenders 300. And create a draft pull request. And I think we can keep it to that. I think these reviewers get added automatically because they are code owners.
Okay.
I wonder if we can remove that, but we don't have that. We don't have to do it right now.
Yeah. What would be nice then is to just wrap up with the couple minutes we have left, get the draft pull request up, give ourselves a pat on the back for
Yay.
contributing to open source and being good residents in the code industry. But that was really interesting for me. I've not worked on a gem before, especially one which is there to kind of work with the file system. It's not so conventional in terms of what I'm used to in web development. Whereas you say we're working kind of with databases more than actually file systems. So that was really interesting insight and really enjoyable to kind of pair on and see the moving parts of it. Yeah, how was it for you? How was that?
It was good. I enjoyed it as well. I see some high fives in chat. Thanks, Mitch.
Love it. We've got
Thank-
Jose as well.
Thank you, Jose.
Big fan of the stream.
I did want to mention that we're not working on open source every day. We are every once in a while, but we also work on Rails applications, and you can hire Thoughtbot to help you with Rails apps, mobile development, and product discovery and design work and so on. So go to thoughtbot.com/hire us for more information.
Yeah. That's where you'll find us.
Yes. We may be back soon. Maybe not the two of us, maybe the two of us. There might be some streams next week. Keep an eye on social media, and you'll see when we're back.
Yeah, I'd love to say that thing that all like influencers say, like please subscribe to my channel. I feel like a real influencer now.
You can say it.
Yeah, let's do it. Please subscribe, get notifications. I think you click a bell. Maybe you click a bell. I don't know, I'm showing my age here. I don't know what you do. Just subscribe. Hit the like button. But yeah, thanks for joining us. And Tamika, thanks a lot. I really appreciated you setting this up and driving on the pairing today.
Yeah. Thanks,
That was
Sammy.
cool. No worries.
Bye.
Take care. Bye bye.